Good afternoon. My name is Sigríður Björk Guðjónsdóttir and I serve as a National Commissioner of the Icelandic Police. Dear colleagues, it is a great pleasure to speak at this gathering of dedicated professionals united by a shared commitment to security, preparedness and public trust. Iceland is often perceived as one of the safest countries in the world. That reputation is well earned, but safety is not something that we inherit, it is something we maintain. And we are at crossroads right now because we are talking openly about security issues that is a little bit complicated because it's new to us. And for example, the response that I often get is that we are scaring the children by talking so openly, or that we could lose trust as a police organization if we talk about the threats. I hear that often as well. But in my opinion, that's a very naive response because it's all coming together. Threat from state actors into the threat of with the use of organized criminal gangs, and even the children being used as a means to damage or create some situations. So at the heart of this effort is our ability to understand risk clearly, methodically, and continually. In a rapidly changing world, risk is no longer confined to traditional categories. It evolves, it overlaps, and it often emerges where we least expect it. This is where strategic threat and risk assessment plays a vital role. And this responsibility lies with the National Security Unit, the NSU, within the Icelandic Police. We have not talked so much about the NSU, so I want to a little bit remark on how it came to. And the National Security Unit was established in 2007 when a legislative proposal for the reorganization of Icelandic law enforcement was already under parliamentary review. And the proposal included provisions for the establishment of an intelligence and risk assessment unit within the National Commissioner's Office. And this marked the beginning of what would become the National Security Unit, Iceland's central institution for counter-espionage, counter-terrorism operation, and intelligence-led policing. In April 2007, the regulation on National Security Unit was formally issued, outlining the structure, responsibilities, and operational framework of Iceland's newly established National Security Unit. And the regulation provided clear definitions for various security assessments conducted by the NSU, including hazard assessment, systematic identification of threats to public safety, and then the risk assessment, evaluation of potential impact of security threats on lives, property, and economic activities, threat assessment, analysis of threats from human actions, particularly in relation to diplomatic missions, public officials, aviation security, and maritime security. The threat level, the classification of security threats based on intelligence analysis, guiding the appropriate level of police preparedness. And if I may state that, for example, the threat of terrorism is here on level 3 out of 5, while in some of the Nordic countries the level is higher, but the threat of organized crime is very high here, 4 out of 5. So it's not quite the same, even if we always look to the Nordic states and really find quite a lot of similarities. And then there is the strategic analysis, a long-time assessment of terrorist threats and organized crime trends, integrating domestic and international intelligence. And finally, the operational analysis, tactical intelligence work directly related to ongoing police investigations. The passage of law last year, number 95/2024, represents a significant legal shift, effectively providing the NSU with enhanced tools for proactive national security operations. These expanded authorities position the NSU as a central agency responsible for preemptive intelligence gathering, surveillance, and intervention against national security threats. While these new measures align Iceland with European and NATO security frameworks, they also introduce new challenges related to oversight, transparency, and civil liberties. The Director of Public Prosecutions is tasked with ensuring that the NSU's use of these expanded powers remains within the legal and ethical boundaries. And we are not, this unit is not separate, it's part of the National Commissioner, but has very clear boundaries that do not interact or collide with police business. So, while much attention is given rightfully to terrorism, our work extends far beyond that domain. And the NSU has conducted and published risk assessments on a wide range of social issues as well, including cybercrime and digital infrastructure vulnerabilities, hybrid threats, environmental scan of Icelandic law enforcement, money laundering and terrorist financing, youth violence and emerging extremist behaviors, organized crime with emphasis on transnational links, and more, many more. We also have the Civil Emergency Unit under our offices, and this is the body that will take care of every attack on a possible threat to life or property. May it be connected to a virus. I'm not sure we can mention the coronavirus anymore, but it can also be eruptions, and it can also be due to the law if there is a hostile, if there's a military action that connects to Iceland. So we already have quite a lot of infrastructure in place. But the assessments serve multiple purposes. They inform strategic planning, guide resource allocation, support operational readiness, and crucially, foster a shared understanding among public agencies, decision makers, and civil society. We do not conduct these assessments in isolation. Much of our strength lies in cooperation with Nordic partners, including those represented here today. In recent years, the collaboration between the NSU and the Norwegian PST, NSM, and E-tjenesten has increased, and these partnerships have led to better data, sharper analysis, and a more unified regional picture. We like to see ourselves as a little sibling of Norway in many aspects. We can always come knocking, and we are always well received. We always get the help and the information assist that we get. So thank you, just using the opportunity to you here. And we are especially inspired by Norway's commitment to open threat reporting. Transparency builds public confidence, and it also encourages institutions to work with greater discipline and clarity. We have tried to bring that same ethos into our own reporting practices in Iceland. Recently, the NSU made a report on the threat picture, where the conclusions are that the war in Ukraine increases the need for preparedness and resilience with a whole of society approach, totalforsvar, and we are working with that in many of our divisions. And recently I was at a meeting with the national commissioners of police in Europe, and there the forces are starting to prepare also what will be the effect when the war in Ukraine finally ends. What can we expect? How should we prepare? So that is part of that. And as I said before, the civil emergency system encompasses both threats and measures due to natural and man-made disasters. And there has been increased focus on the NATO 7 baseline requirements for national resilience. The main risk factors are hybrid threats and increased risk of espionage. We see the cyber threat already have you seen state-sponsored attacks here in Iceland. Organized crime, and as I said, the lines are becoming more blurry between the two. Threat against democracy, for example, with the acceleration approach to try and accelerate the downfall of democracy, we see also the fingerprints of that here, with misinformation and disinformation, using a bogus Icelandic social media figure to talk against Ukraine, for example. And the critical infrastructure, of course, that we always need to look at and protect. And our threat is very similar to the threat in our neighboring countries, but not quite the same, though. And we know that small societies like ours face particular challenges because we have limited resources and high expectations of trust. And I was very happy to hear from our Norwegian colleague that the money should not only be focused on defense, but also on the civilian matters, just for those who are decision makers in the country. This is a very important part, I hope everybody heard. But we also have the strengths. We have agility, adaptability, and the ability to act quickly across institutional lines. Okay, this did not go well. I will just have to read it for you. For us, openness is not a luxury. It is a necessity. We go in the media when we have made mistakes, and we own it, and we apologize, and we try to make sure it doesn't happen again. When we share what we know responsibly and respectfully, we not only prevent harm, but also strengthen the democratic foundations that make long-term security possible. I, for one, am proud of the progress we have made, and I know we have much more to learn, which is why conferences like this matter. Thank you, Valberg, and thank you, Cecilia. Thank you.